The word she said to me is, I have no future in Scientology. She wanted to bring bad boys into Scientology. Her words.
No.
Now,
what you have just done is one of two things, and I'm not in a position to judge which it is. Either you have made an accurate charge against someone, or what a number of your critics and a number of the pieces that have been written about the Church of Scientology suggest, is that when you have a critic before you, you destroy those people.
Yeah, well, let me tell you, that's easy to say for the person. That's easy for the person to say, but she's the one on that program smearing me, and let me tell you something else. This subject did come out before. Forrest did have it. I showed her deposition testimony. She admitted in there that that is what she was trying to do. She admitted that's why she was pulled out. The fact that Forrest didn't put that in there is extremely disingenuous. I'm not making any new charge against her, and let's not also forget the fact that she is trying to get $70 million out of the church, and I think that explains 70 million reasons why she would make up something like that. I'm trying to get nothing from her.
Has she sued the church?
Absolutely.
For $70 million?
For $70 million.
Where does that case stand right now?
Case has dragged on for years. It's just been dragging on and on.
But I mean, it's still in the court system.
Absolutely. Absolutely. But on the subject here, I mean, they bring that up. Ted, it's simple for people to say that, except I'm not out there leveling charges out of the blue against people. In fact, you've got to look at it this way. You've seen the amount of attacks leveled against my church. I haven't even bothered to come out to defend myself until this point, and I'm not even here to defend myself. But if somebody makes a move like that, and they say something, and they have an ulterior motive, I think it should be explained. It's that simple. You had another example on there, a Roxanne friend. This is a horrifying story. This girl was ill. I feel for her.
Another woman.
Another woman on there. Excuse me. And I don't mean to say it the demeaning way. I'm sorry. She has a horrifying story of having an illness of cancer. And the word in there is that we didn't send her to a church.
To a doctor.
To a doctor, excuse me. In fact, she's been to a doctor 220 times while she was in Scientology. In fact, when we sent her out of the church, we asked her to please go to a medical doctor and see if something was wrong.
The charge, as I recall it, Mr. Miscavige, is that with many of these people who've done...
Well, let me finish this one. Let me finish this one because it's important.
Not just with Ms. Friend. I'll let you get back to it in just a second. The charge is that you inevitably, I don't mean you personally, I mean the church, send people who complain of some illness to a doctor, but a doctor who is also a Scientologist.
I know where you got it. It's invented. Never heard it in my life.
So if someone... Well,
first time I heard it.
It's not the first time because you've read the LA Times series and it was in the LA Times series.
If it was in the LA Times series, I didn't read that. Believe me, I don't read a report on Scientology from the LA Times to find out what it is, so I did not read that in detail.
No, but I mean, you've got to understand what your critics are saying.
It's just not so. Not so at all. Just absolutely not so.
Any Scientologist who wants to go to an outside doctor, no problem.
Anybody he wants. It's just an outrageous charge. I have no idea where it came from.
What do you call the folks who are up at the higher level of your church? The ones in the uniforms. What is that?
Members, Sea Org members of the church.
Sea Org.
Yes.
What does that stand for?
Sea Organization. Originally.
SEA.
From the sea.
Sea.
Yeah, sure, absolutely.
What does that mean?
The ocean. Well, originally this group of people were based on ships at sea, and that's where the term Sea Organization came from.
That was at a time when all kinds of folks were going after L. Ron Hubbard, and he moved his operation out to sea?
Not because all kinds of folks were going after L. Ron Hubbard.
IRS was going after him, weren't they, at that time?
Well, let me tell you, I mean, you know, I went through these earlier. You want to talk about them. There was no cause and effect relationship to L. Ron Hubbard being at sea and these people going after him, and therefore he was leaving. But you want to bring out all sorts of folks. Ted, let's be accurate here. There have been attacks leveled against Scientology. They uniformly get reported by the media. The net result doesn't. Let me just go through them. I mentioned the Food and Drug Administration. They tried this case for 6 years. They lost. It was headline press when it came out. They lost the case. Full religious recognition of the church. They passed their information to Australia. There was a full inquiry down there. In 1982, the court ruled in our favor and issued an apology stating that this was an embarrassing chapter in the history of that country. You talk about the attacks here. The real story is this, Ted. A new organization. There are new ideas in Scientology. These get attacked. It's not the first time in the history of the world that this has happened. This has happened to many other groups. This happened to Christianity. Bring it up forward to another religion, Mormonism. It happened to them. It happened to us. The attacks on us, though, I will say, in the last 40 years are unprecedented and unrelenting, not even rivaled by any other group during that time period. And yet the Church of Scientology has survived throughout that entire time period and grown and continued to grow. That is the real story of Scientology, and the only way that can occur is if you have something beneficial to offer people, and Scientology does. You can talk about all of this. I can debate with you about that. You can go speak to a Scientologist, which were made available to Nightline, and ask them what it has done for them, and they do applaud it. The people who are detractors, anybody has critics. That's fine, and I have to tell you, I don't mind somebody criticizing a valid fact in Scientology, Ted. I'll be the first one to deal with it. People within the church, there's various complaints here and there, little ones. I always investigate them. But what upsets me is when one of these critics brings this up, and your reporter doesn't mention the fact that they are suing, or the fact that they were removed, and I've shown deposition testimony. You see, it's out of the realm of what I'm saying. The fact that another man wanted to kidnap Scientologists, and I showed the documents to your reporter, and he doesn't put them in. My complaint isn't that the people said them. My complaint is that the reporter didn't give the motive, and he should have. He had it available to him, and to not show it makes it seem like these people are objective. You want to go around and check out the controversy. It's created in the media because, Ted, like I said at the beginning of the show, there are 100,000 Scientologists for every one detractor. And when you just show those people, well, they've picked up the lines, they're coordinated, they find all the little buttons to press, and they all say the same ones, they're frightened. They're on the show. I spoke to Roxanne Friend over Christmas. I feel sorry for her, but do you know what she said to me, Ted? She asked me at the end of our conversation, Dave, please tell me, is it ever possible for me to come back to Scientology?